live. Yeah, we going live. Hey, we going live. Yeah, we going live. Yeah, we going. Yeah, we going. Yeah, we going live. From the 50-yard line, we going live. From the 50-yard line, we going live. From the 50-yard line. Hey.
Hello, beautiful people.
Hello.
I am Jarrett, the football genius Burgess.
I'm Stephanie Fitzpatrick, aka the Advantage Coach.
This is episode 114 of the Field to the Real podcast.
Yes.
Moseying right along. I know
moseying all along.
We really are moseying right along.
We are, really, literally. We've been moseying for a while now.
Right. 114 episodes.
Yeah, we've been moseying for a while. So
you know, it's funny too, right? And I promise we're going to jump into who's really right, but I was just looking at, you know, some of the people who started podcasts around the same time that we did, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them, like, they either have been choppy as far as putting out content, or they have stopped putting out content altogether. And so I really think that it's a big deal that we've continued to press.
I love that. Thank you for saying that.
The commitment and the consistency that we've had to have to continue this podcast.
Right.
And I'm not just saying this because it's me. I do see the inner working, so I understand. It's admirable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if I see somebody else, if I saw somebody else like doing this, I would be like, yo, that's what's up. Like, y'all really keeping it going and like really pressing through some things to make sure that you guys record.
Right. And then the other thing, and I don't know who knows this. I don't know that it's anybody's business, but we do this because we love it.
Right.
Like, we're not paid for this.
Yeah, we ain't there's no salary here.
No, we're not paid for this. So, like, we do this because we love it.
Right. And we pour into it. Not even just that we don't get paid for it. Like, both of us have poured into this podcast, like, with our own money, you know what I'm saying, to make sure this stuff runs and works and goes, you know. So we're gonna pat ourselves on the back for that.
Well, what I will say is I feel like our perseverance is going to pay off.
Indeed.
And payoff for us isn't a payday necessarily, as much as it is, because for anybody who doesn't know, we started this podcast because of our project. Right.
It feels
because
project.
Our heart and our real heart in all of this is to see college student athletes, particularly football players, because that's where Jarrett, you know, he played football. Seeing them understand who they are beyond the sport, having them help them understand that there's purpose for them beyond the sport. And so our project really focuses on that, right? That's what we focus on. And so the goal of this podcast, so I hope that if someone is listening, because we never talk about this, Jarrett. So I think it's a good thing that you brought this up, that the purpose of this podcast was not even to be a podcast where we would be doing how we're doing. It's crazy.
Right. Yeah.
Literally,
it just kind of morphed into this.
It morphed into this because really we still want to, let's be clear, what we wanted this to be was a catalyst for us to be able to do the project. So we would go on college campuses, particularly HBCU campuses, and broadcast our podcast from their campus. And then that would lead into us having those opportunities to work with those players.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what we still want to see happen.
Right.
Now that we kind of coming out of Rona a little bit, and we can move around a bit more,
maneuver a little bit. Yeah.
We can get back to thinking along those lines of being able to go to college campuses and do podcast live. We can do live podcasts
on
college campuses and have players or coaches or whomever administrators on our show to talk about their schools, this is a plug for them, right?
Right.
And so being able to do that and then still forge those relationships with that university or that institution to be able to have us come in and do some of this work that doesn't get done, where these kids won't leave not knowing who they are because they didn't go to the NFL.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
that just gave me a great idea too that we're gonna talk about off air.
Okay.
Thank God for this conversation.
Okay. So but that's really what this podcast was birthed out of for us. And so we love what we do because we still been doing it regardless. But you know, I'd like to see the fruits of the labor in that respect, where we can get into these schools and do what we do.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Who's really right?
Yeah.
All right, so we've been watching the NBA playoffs, and the NBA playoffs is starting to heat up, at least from the standpoint of like we're seeing very competitive games, and we're seeing some blowouts turn into epic comebacks.
Last night
that was excited about that.
Yeah, very excited, very very excited. Yes. So
So one of the things that's kind of been an issue, and that we knew would be an issue because of the season starting the way that it did and the time that it did, and just the amount of games that the NBA was trying to get in, I guess without concern for the players' bodies, was that there would be some injuries to some key players.
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of it. This NBA finals, this NBA playoffs, more all-stars have been out this NBA playoffs than ever before.
Yeah. LeBron just spoke on this too, didn't he?
Right. Just spoke about it. And they say that, they people felt like he didn't have the game's interest in mind when he was making these claims back in December or November.
He shouldn't have. It was about the body. He knew what he was talking about.
Right. And in the business part of it, you lessen the product when you don't have the best players on the floor. So with that being said, our Who's Really Right today is about CP3, who technically his is an injury. He has COVID. And so he's going through the COVID protocols. I think thankfully for them, he's going through these COVID protocols at a time where the Clippers and the Nuggets are still battling out. I mean, excuse me, not the Nuggets. The Clippers and the Jazz, are still battling it out to see who's going to play the Suns. Right. And so they have a little bit of lead time. It's a 3-2 lead for the Clippers. But Kawhi Leonard is out with the ACL, either a partial tear or a full tear. I don't think they got the MRI out by the time of this recording. Yeah. And like I said, CP3 is out with COVID. Mm-hmm. So given those two huge losses for those teams, what do we think is going to happen?
Which one do we think is gonna? Yeah. So basically, which one do we think has the most impact? Right.
Right. Yeah.
Which one's loss is the biggest? Is the greater impact?
Which player's loss is the greater or the lesser impact?
Because I think we talked about it in terms of who wouldn't be missed.
Right.
Who wouldn't be missed? Right.
Right.
Right. And I think it's CP3.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that team can, and for reasons of, one is not something as severe as Kawhi Leonard's injury, right? So if they can just kind of hold on so he can get back in the fray, they'll be okay. Yeah. But I feel like they got enough pieces around around him that if he has to be out, like it's okay, right? Because who do they have?
DeAndre Ayton. What's his name?
What's the boys?
Ayton.
Cameron Payne.
Yes.
Cameron Payne. I'm looking at him now. Cameron Payne. You got
Devin Booker.
Devin Booker.
Yeah.
So
I was like, why am I going blank?
Right, Devin Booker. So don't worry, I'm up here looking forward to. But yeah, Devin Booker. I feel like those two pieces are, I'm gonna say, good enough. Devin Booker is not just good enough; he's good. But they're good enough that they can carry the team if need be for a little bit. If that makes sense, you know what I mean?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like it's the lesser loss.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think Kawhi's loss is the lesser loss. I think, and we had this conversation via text message this morning.
Yeah.
About primary and secondary scores, and I think that this kind of shows, and it's been some other things that kind of show that Paul George is a primary scorer, and I think that, when you look at analytics, you say, oh, this is a perfect match. Everybody isn't meant to be a GM.
Right.
Because Kawhi Leonard said that I need another player, and they went and traded for Paul George, and up until now, it hadn't really looked like it worked out that well.
No, it hadn't.
But Paul George showed us something last night with winning Game 5 without Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
And the thing I want to point to as far as the Suns is that Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton were on that team last year. Mm-hmm. And while they were a pretty good team, they didn't lose a game in the bubble, but they just were too far behind to catch up. Mm-hmm. We see the elevation of that team with CP3. And not only have we seen the elevation of that team with CP3, we saw that he took an OKC team who did not make the playoffs this year or the year prior to him getting there.
Right.
And we saw that he got that Rockets team, or he was a part of getting that Rockets team to the Western Conference Finals with James Harden.
Yeah.
So I feel like his value is understated, and he is the engine that makes that thing go. He's the engine that makes that thing go. I think right now, I truly believe that Devin Booker is a superstar. Mm-hmm. And he's going to go and do more great and wonderful things. But I think that he needed a leader like Chris Paul to come in and show him how to do this thing and how to win.
And he's been there the whole year, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't think the boy got it by now?
I think he has it by now, but I think also having CP3 on the court keeps other teams honest.
Absolutely, because they're gonna respect him. Absolutely.
Yeah, you can't just double Devin Booker.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to worry about CP3.
CP3, yeah. I see that.
Yeah, not having him on the court, I think, is the bigger loss.
Okay. And I'll only say this. So to rebut, like you said something about the Suns, I'll say something about the Clippers to say. When we had this conversation, I think this was the Who's Really Right about the Clippers and whether they were going to be okay, right?
Right.
And what did I say? If Kawhi Leonard steps up, because he's going to carry them on his back, because that's just who he is. Quietly as he does it, he is just going to pick them up and carry them on his back, right?
Right.
I feel like that's something your boy is not going to be able to replace that kind of, he's not that person to me. He's steady, he's good, but I don't
Yeah.
see him being like Kawhi Leonard is a quiet dog. If you want to be truthful, he is a quiet dog. Okay, and so he is just. I don't see him that way.
So So you remember Playoff P was actually born because of what he was doing in Indiana against the Heat.
Right.
He was killing the Heat by himself.
Yeah.
And so, and that's how I came to the determination I came to this morning when you were texting. And I was like, he's a primary guy. Like, he's not a secondary guy. And it's not like, well, let's just throw two primary scorers together and they'll work it out.
Right.
I think that him being a secondary scorer has made him super passive. And he's not allowed to, remember I said rhythm, he's not allowed to get into a rhythm.
Right.
And I think last night showed us that, he can be that. He really can. He's been that, and he can be that again. And so while the Clippers probably needed Kawhi to carry them on his back, I think if Playoff P can be the primary guy that he was in Indiana, he could possibly carry them on his back.
We'll see. I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't have that kind of faith in him, brother. I mean, I just don't. But
it's something that we'll have to keep an eye on.
I'm curious to see, because I mean, I would hope he can, but because I would like to see. I mean, now that Kawhi's out, I guess it don't matter. But I would like to see the Clippers play the Suns.
I want to see the Jazz, and I want Mike Conley to come back because I feel like they're really missing him. Like, I didn't think that they would necessarily need him because, Spider Mitchell has been going off. But much like CP3, a good floor general,
priceless
in the playoffs, very necessary.
Priceless, absolutely.
Yeah.
We saw, if nothing else, we saw a good floor general, even though he's a youngster. Last night, is Trae Young brought the Hawks back.
Yeah. 39-7.
Yep.
And then bringing them back from a 26-point deficit.
26-point deficit. Yeah. In the fourth quarter, y'all just showed out.
At some point, we're going to have this conversation about Doc Rivers and his teams.
That was the first thing I texted you when we first started. Not even with this series. Like the last.
I know
I was like, oh God, like I'm torn because I want to see Doc do well, but I gotta go for the Hawks, right? I'm like,
right.
So because this ain't gonna be pretty.
Yeah, if he doesn't come back and win this series, we're gonna have that conversation.
Yeah, we're gonna have it then.
Yeah. I don't know. Hopefully.
They're going to take care of business at home. It's going to be over.
They better.
They're going to.
Because if they go back to Philly.
Yeah, it's a problem if they go back to Philly, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I feel like they got to take care of business at home right now. But they got to be feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
They have to be feeling pretty good.
Well, all right. Who's really right? If you feel like Stephanie is right and that Kawhi Leonard is probably the more valuable to his team, then you can agree with Stephanie and vote for her to be who's really right. But if you feel like it's CP3, that's my choice. And you can, let the people know that I'm really right. And I'm not even going to throw a veiled shot in there about me being who's really right about the rookie of the year. You know what I'm saying? Because
you get it. You go ahead.
I said it was going to be LaMelo Ball.
I gotta celebrate and resoundingly, I think he had like 85 first place votes versus 17 or something for Anthony.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm here in Charlotte. I ain't mad at it. I know the boy was balling. Yeah. No pun intended. Well, pun intended. I know he was balling, but you listen. We should celebrate every time you get one because they don't come often.
They few and far in between. We got to celebrate these. Celebrate the wins.
Celebrate every victory, okay? I'm good with that. Oh, we got to go back for a second about this whole Batman Robin thing because our new hashtag.
Yes. New hashtag, chemistry over calculations.
Yep.
Listen, when you said that to me this morning, I was like, I love it. Everybody is so enamored by analytics and what the numbers say and the story that they tell and what they paint, but it doesn't always lead to the best outcomes. And so we take those calculations, and sometimes we use them to usurp chemistry, and there's no way that it can. So chemistry over calculations.
Every time.
Analytics aren't always, and you hear the NBA players say, like, yo, those analytics don't account for a lot. You know, like it's just straight numbers.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yeah. Chemistry.
Just want to put that out there.
Yeah. Nah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah. You know, that's been my fault for I never numbers don't sway me one way or the other. I'm watching how you are, like the way you are with each other. That makes the difference to me.
Now you know we're gonna have to have that conversation when it comes to Matt Ryan.
What about Matt Ryan?
About all these gaudy numbers he didn't put up over the last couple of years, but he ain't sniffed the playoffs since
that don't have nothing to do with chemistry with the people you play with. That's what we're talking about.
No, we talking about calculations. You was just talking about stats. And
I don't, because that ain't why I like Matt Ryan.
Oh no. I'm talking about like when we just talk about when we have conversations about quarterbacks, and you be sending me them stats with Matt Ryan being number 2 on the list and number 3, but they ain't been to no playoff
stats game. Person, right? Are you not a stats person? Okay, so I have to prove my point to you using the method that works for you. Right? Listen. I remember what that was like when I was in school. Okay, that's what we were supposed to do to get our argument. Sometimes you got to use their own stuff against them. Yeah. So right, I'm just saying.
That's why this is me turning that back onto you and using.
Okay. I'm good.
The stats being really good for Matt Ryan, but
they are.
We haven't seen any playoff.
No, we haven't.
What's the head coach name for the 49ers?
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Okay, I'm gonna stop picking with you today.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, so all good. It's all good.
Really right.
Yeah.
Chemistry over calculations. Chemistry over calculations.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right.
Now put the cameras on me, 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 put the cameras on me.